I need to ask you about when you almost got in a fight with Mike Tyson. I need to hear this story.
So we were working together on some projects, and I got brought in to be like his coach. And Mike didn't know I was his coach, I'm sure of it. But it was the idea of it. And I loved Mike Tyson. Like I modeled my life and career after him, because someone that grew up affluent, I knew I had to become a crazy person to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish.
I know I've studied a lot about Mike Tyson. I know he said, I became a fighter because I didn't want anyone to fuck with me. He was so afraid.
Yes.
And that's what led to, So when you were sharing your story, I heard a lot of similarity in
Mike has taught me some amazing things. I mean, he's the reason I don't sleep around. No one else could teach me that. No woman, no therapist. We're sitting in the backyard smoking a joint. He's like, you know they're not your mom, right? And I was like, what? The fuck did you just say to me? And he's like, bro, you can't sleep with all of them. He's like, you're not going to find your mom. And I was just like, dude, I'm too hot for this right now. What the fuck? And he was right. You know, I was already on the path to get there, but I needed to hear that. Yeah. And one time we were in a meeting and he had took too much mushrooms as usual. That's what Mike does. And he thought that I was racist, not towards black people. It was the pandemic, and I was like, we're trying to be woke. I'm like, whoa, no, why am I racist? It was because I called Portland a little bit white trashy. I was explaining this business model we were going to have and how things are, decriminalized and building a psychedelic brand for them, because they had Mike Tyson, the Mike Tyson Ranch, or Tyson Ranch was the company. Just kind of my 30,000-foot view of where we're going to put offices, and our first office is in this part of Oregon. Why Southern Oregon? Well, because it's right near the border. We don't care about Oregon. We want California as a marketplace. Why not Portland? I was like, during the pandemic, I'm like, you ever been to Portland, Mike? No? I was like, bro, it's a shithole. It's super white trashy.
Yeah. Shout out Portland.
And he goes, what'd you say? I was like, yeah, man, no trash like white trash, right, Mike? And I'm a comedian at the time. And I was like, right? Like, I thought that was a funny joke, but he did not
think that, yeah.
And then I'm continuing with my talk about the business in this room full of business people, and he keeps chirping off at me, starts to like threaten my life, and fuck you, I'll kill you. And I was like, okay. So I stood up, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be rad. I get to fight Mike Tyson. And I had been sizing him up for months at that point. Like, they're not that big, bro. You're not that strong. They're old. Like you don't even know how to get choked. You don't know how to choke anybody.
Yeah, you get them on the ground.
I've got world-class wrestling. And I'm a backpack on you. The most violent backpack ever. I'm going to put you to sleep, and then I'm getting the fuck out of here. And then, the person who owned the house is a very great mentor to me, and another man I respect a lot. And as this whole thing is yelling at me and shit, I looked at that guy, and he was like, don't do it. Like, not happening. I was like, okay, I'm going to leave here emasculated then. Fuck all you guys. And I left.
But you could have done something.
Well,
and as long as you done
that would have gone two ways.
Yeah.
My head would have been put into orbit, or I would have grabbed that lamp and thrown it at him, and then I would have choked him unconscious. And that would have been, part of me is like, that would have been a much cooler story.
Yeah,
but
that would have made the news probably.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been appropriate, like for either of us. It's not a good look, and
that's growth.
And that's
maturity.
Growth. Of course, at the time I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
The guy I looked up to, never meet your mentors kind of thing. And I thought I was making progress in this my coaching world. That was my first big client. And it was just a shit show. So it is what it is. I don't hold a grudge against anybody. I just, it's a cool story now.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with it. Actually, there's a sober coach named Mike Bayer that he's always on Dr. Phil's, or at least
okay, yeah. I know the name. Yeah.
Big giant. He's got really good jiu-jitsu, actually. I was sitting at his house. I gave him some body work in West Hollywood, and teaching him some jiu-jitsu, stretching him out, working on him. He's just a fucking massive guy. And I'm sitting there, and he's like, we're friends, and we're working together. He goes, my next thing got canceled. He goes, can we talk? I was like, yeah. He goes, all right, sit down. And he just gave me this speech about my life and about like getting my shit together and getting more sober and all this sort of thing, and really analyzed the Mike Tyson situation. It was like, this is your first major client. You think you're just going to knock it out of the park. It's like, you know how many clients I fucked up before I got this right? And he's worked with all kinds of people in Hollywood. And I was like, oh. He goes, you need to forgive yourself. Drop it. Who cares? Like, do you really want to be friends with him? I was like, not really. He was like, exactly. He's like, then give yourself a break and realize that you dropped the ball, or the universe dropped it for you, or he did, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Forgive and forget. Get over it. And that was a big turning point as well, because I still got Mike yesterday. So that's been my growth process with that story.